Happy video day, guys. Christina, Brooke here. Today we are talking all about Charlotte Tilbury's brand new release. So I did pick up her Nudegasm face palette as well as one of her new Matte Revolution lipsticks in Catwalking. So I have them sitting right here in front of me. This right here is the Nudegasm palette. So beautiful. So this is supposed to be more like a contour palette, and the beautiful Matte Revolution lipstick in the color Catwalking. So in today's video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be comparing her brand new palette to a palette that she released not that long ago. So she released the Glowgasm palette, which was this beautiful face palette that I picked up, and right when I saw that Nudegasm was releasing, I was very interested in seeing what was the difference between these two palettes. So I ended up picking this up for you guys and asked you guys on my Instagram, how would you guys like for me to present this to you? And I got a majority of people saying that you guys wanted me to put half a face of Nudegasm and the other half of my face with the Glowgasm Lightgasm palette in order for you guys to kind of see what is the difference between these palettes. So that is what we're going to do in today's video. I'm also going to be giving you guys my thoughts, trying on all of these products. We've got a lot to go over and some pretty interesting results. Pretty interesting because something happened that I really didn't think was going to happen. So yeah, we've got a lot here. But if you guys are new and you haven't done so already, please consider hitting subscribe. I love talking about makeup. I sprinkle in some fashion, and I think you would like to stick around. So hit subscribe so you don't ever miss one of my videos. So let's go ahead and let's get into it. All right, so let's start off with this product right here. So this is called the Super Nudes face palette, and the color is Nudegasm, and it is a $75 US palette. So yes, it's pretty pricey. Charlotte Tilbury tends to be pretty pricey, but her stuff is usually pretty good. If you guys can see, it's very well presented, nice heavy case, amazing mirror, very, very pretty shades inside, nice embossing. You do get a luxury experience with this face palette, and you are getting a pretty good amount of product inside. On her website, it's described as a nude makeup palette with sculpting and glowing shades to beautify your cheeks and eyes for a sun-kissed runway ready look. So this right here is her multi-glow. So it's meant to be used on the eyes or to put on the cheeks to create like a healthy glow, she says. So this one right here is called the Soft Sculpt. She describes it as a sandy taupe in order to help to sculpt, and it also could be used to smoke and blur the appearance of imperfection. So I'm assuming you could probably use it as a nose contour, which I will do. Okay, so then there's the Super Sculpt, which is a darker tone that is supposed to be able to give you that very sculpted, like supermodel look. And then there is the Super Glow, which is kind of like a highlighter. So it's supposed to give you that glass looking effect to the skin, and it's in like a champagne tone. So those are the 4 shades that are inside of here. Now this is a 90s inspired palette, supposed to give you like that supermodel look, and it's supposed to give you more of like a sculpting effect. So this does only come in 1 shade range. So it's only coming in Nudegasm. Apparently she says that if you have a deeper complexion, you could just use this shade on its own. If you have a fairer complexion, you can use this one, or if you're in between, you can mix them. So you're supposed to be able to mix these shades in order to come up with your perfect shade. However, I personally feel like this is probably going to work the best on fair to medium skin tones. I think if you're past medium, I personally just don't see how this is going to show up, because it showed up pretty good on my skin tone, but like even the blush was very light on my skin. So I don't think that this is going to benefit anybody with a deep skin tone. I really think fair to medium is where this palette lays. I personally feel like she probably should have come out with 2 ranges of this. This should have been the light to medium, and there should have been a medium to deep, kind of like what she did when she released the Glowgasms, that there was 2 different ones. So, but unfortunately there's only this one. So I do have a few thoughts on this. So straight away, I'm going to tell you guys that I was actually pretty shocked that this did do some stuff that I was not expecting. And compared to the Lightgasm, there was a few similarities, but then at the same time, there was a very distinct difference, which was the contouring effect. I feel like the Nudegasm really gave me that strong contour, which you guys are going to see. So let me go ahead and show you guys me applying it. You guys are going to see the difference between the 2 sides being applied, and I think you guys are going to be on the same page with me at the end of this little portion right here. Okay guys, so I am so ready to try this, because this is something that I actually personally am dying to see how different these 2 palettes are. So you guys know Nudegasm is her brand new launch. Now this is supposed to be more of a contour palette. palette. So it's going to be a little cooler toned than her previous launch, which was this one. I think this released last year or the year before. So this is Glowgasm, which is more of a bronzing face palette. But if you really think about it, there's like one bronzer and like 2 shiny blushes and a highlight. So this is supposed to be like a glowy bronzing palette, and this one is supposed to be more of a contouring palette. So those are the 2 different palettes. So I'll put them side by side so you guys can kind of analyze them a little bit for yourselves. This palette here is a little cooler. In the pan, to be honest, it's not like it looks a lot cooler. We're gonna have to see how this applies to the skin, because looking at it right here, like it looks a little cooler, but does it look that much cooler than this one? I'm not really sure. So what we're gonna do is on one side of my face, I'm gonna apply the brand new Nudegasm. On the other side, I'm gonna apply the Glowgasm. Also, I have Lightgasm. So she had released 2 different ones. I don't remember what the other one's name was, but I picked up Lightgasm, and honestly, I probably would have preferred the deeper one because I feel like this one's just so faint. But this is the one that I ended up going with, and it's the one I ended up keeping. So what we're gonna do is on one side, I'm gonna be doing Lightgasm. On the other side, we're gonna be doing the brand new Nudegasm, and see how different this application is, to see if you guys already have Lightgasm or the deeper one, if you really need to go out and buy this brand new palette. But before we apply this on the skin, let's do some swatching just so I get an idea of the tones. So I'm gonna go ahead and swatch from the Nudegasm this bronzer shade. So this is the color, so you guys can see, that is the color. From the Lightgasm, the bronzer shade. So I guess technically this is a contour shade inside of the new palette, but these are the 2 different shades. So this is the new palette and this is the Lightgasm. So here is the color and here. So if you guys can see, the Lightgasm is quite lighter than the new palette. Now the new palette has a little bit more brown than red, so I can see why people are saying it's a little bit more contoury than it does like that reddish brownish tone that usually looks better as a bronzer. So I'm interested, and I want to swatch it up against my favorite bronzer. This is my favorite one from Charlotte. This is Tan. So I want to just see how this bronzer matches up to the brand new contour shade. I just want to see the difference because, you know, some of us might actually want to use this all over the face. So if you guys can see, my favorite bronzer, a lot more red in tone. The new contour shade is a little bit more of like that dulled out brown, a little bit on the grayer side, and Lightgasm was kind of like in between these 2. Those are the 3 different swatch comparisons for you guys can see. So first observation from the Nudegasm is definitely the shade is cooler. It's a cooler tone. It is probably better for contouring, but I'm thinking you could probably still use it as a bronzer. So now what I want to do too is, because there's one more shade in here, I just want to swatch this lighter contour shade inside of Nudegasm to see how it matches up to the color in Lightgasm. So I'm going to swatch it right underneath the Lightgasm bronzer shade, so you guys can see. Okay, so here is another cooler shade. So you guys can see how much cooler that is than the bronzer that comes inside of the Lightgasm. So 100%. This palette is a lot cooler. So let's start off with some bronzer first, and then we'll kind of compare the highlights and we'll compare the blushes as we apply. On this side, I'm going to put the brand new palette. On this side, I'm going to put the older Lightgasm palette. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a rougher brush, but let's go ahead and clean it off, make sure there's nothing on it. When it comes to contouring, I need a smaller brush because I have a very small face, so big brushes will literally cover my whole skin, and for a contour, not a good idea. So let's jump into the deeper shade right here, and let's put that. Oh wow, so that is, wow, okay, so, okay, I'm shocked. I'm shocked by the pigment, and I'll tell you why, because when I bought the Lightgasm palette, I was kind of disappointed that I didn't feel like product was picking up on my brush. That picked up a really good amount of product. So off the bat, very impressed with pigmentation and that it is actually pretty damn pigmented. I have a light medium skin tone. I'm definitely a little on the lighter side than I am towards the medium side, but I do have a warm complexion, and that picked up pretty good. But I am having to work it a little bit because I did put a little bit too much on because I wasn't sure. But look how nice that contour did. I mean, can you guys see that? I might actually like this more than I thought I would. Okay, so we're gonna grab a little bit more of this and we're gonna add a little bit to the forehead area. Now, typically I don't contour here, but because we'll probably try to see if this could work kind of like a bronzer as well. And then under the chin, which is another really good area to contour, but I have a very strong chin line, so I typically do not contour there either. But for purposes of this demo, we will pretend like I enjoy contouring a lot. Now that actually did a very good job. You guys can see with it, with nothing, you guys can already see it did gather on me just a tad because I think I put too much product. I do want to kind of just go over with this lighter shade. I just kind of want to see. Okay, so that shade I think is too gray for me. Like I can see like a grayness coming through, which I do not like. So this one I would typically probably use as nose contour. I think it would probably work really good for that, which we will do that. But definitely I personally would not use it on my skin tone. If you have a very fair skin tone, you might want to use this one and not this one. But if you're more like me and you have a light medium and you lean towards the warmer side, I would stay away from this one on the face because it does a little bit too gray. So there we go. There's my contour with Nudegasm. Nothing, and contoured. Let's clean off the brush really nice and good. And then we're gonna do this side with Lightgasm, and we're gonna use the bronzer shade. I'm gonna kind of like do the same thing, kind of like act like it's a contour, and I just wanna see how different these two shades look on the skin. So we're gonna jump into the bronzer shade, and we're gonna do almost the same thing. Now, one complaint I always had about Lightgasm is that these pans were so pressed that it was so hard to pick up product. If you guys can see, look how much pigment that gave me straight away. Look how I'm having to like kind of work. If she would have released this palette with the bronzers that she released last year, that would have been insane, but this is definitely not the same. So there is the difference. This side I feel like it's a little warmer and a little less noticeable. This side I feel like is very structured and a little bit more noticeable. I honestly am preferring this side, even though I probably would go in with a little bit less product next time so I don't have such a strong structure because my face is already pretty structured. But I really enjoyed the application of Nudegasm so much better than the application of Lightgasm. Like that Glowgasm palette was so hard to get that bronzer out. All right, so there we go. So here is the bronze side. I think it looks a little bit more bronzy. And here is my contouring side with Nudegasm, and I think it looks a little bit more structured. Which side do you guys prefer at this moment? I don't know. I'm kind of stuck in the middle. Part of me likes the Nudegasm, but is a little annoyed by this darkness that I have right here, but I think that was just a goof up that I did. Maybe I'm liking the structure. Let's keep going. There's more stuff to try. Let's see how the finished look comes about. But I want to try the blush. So this is this one from Nudegasm. And guys, I feel like these blushes are pretty close. So here is the one from the new Nudegasm, beautiful peachy tone blush, and I love peachy tone blushes, and it was one of the reasons that I really liked the blush in Lightgasm, very peachy tone blush, you know? So let's see how close they are. I think the new Nudegasm is gonna be a little deeper, and it is. Okay, so I guess they're not as comparable as they look in the pan. So the new Nudegasm is a lot deeper, and this one's a lot lighter. So that makes me happy. That makes me happy. I'm gonna swatch this other blush as well from Lightgasm, which is the original palette, because there's two blushes. So these are the two. I wonder if I mix these two together, if it makes that color. You know, I mean, if you add a little bit more. So it's not exactly, it's a little bit more pinkier. It has peach in it, but it goes on the peachier pink side, but maybe on the cheeks, if you mix those two blushes together, you might have something similar. So what we'll do is we'll put a little bit of both blushes on. Why not? Let's start off with Nudegasm, and we're gonna go ahead and apply it lightly to the side. Oh, that's actually really pretty, and like I said, pretty pigmented. So I didn't even have to put that much on. Oh my god, this poor side of my face, I am like just totally overdoing it. I'm not expecting for these to be as pigmented as they are. So there it is, very pretty, my style. I don't like very bright blushes, so this is a very pretty peachy tone blush. It shows up on my skin tone, but I'm wondering if you're deeper than me, if you're gonna see this. If you're deeper than me, will you be able to see this shade? You might not be able to. It has a little slight sheen to it, so it definitely is a little bit more glowy, and I think it looks very pretty. And what we're gonna do, I just cleaned off my brush. We're gonna first go into this color here and put that color first. Oh yeah, this palette was a lot more glowy. Can you guys see the difference between the glow there? Like, it's so much more glowy. It almost looks like I put a highlighter on my face. And this side does not look like a highlighter. The blushes in Glowgasm were definitely glowy. Like, I don't even remember it being so glowy, but look at that. Do you guys see that sheen? I feel like the sheen is really what changes the color in person. And then I'm gonna grab a little bit of this one and just like, might as well just make myself look like a light bulb and put this on top to see if we can get a similar color. So that's as deep as I think I'm gonna get it. Yeah, they look kind of similar in color. This side is definitely deeper and a lot more glowy on this side. I'm preferring Nudegasm's blush 100 times better. I think it literally is perfection. Maybe needed just a tad bit more pigment so that more skin tones can wear it, but it's definitely a lot better than these because these were very, very glowy. So what do you guys think? Those are the two different blushes. Nudegasm, new palette. Lightgasm, Glowgasm, old palette. Okay, so first let's compare the highlights. So let's go first into the Nudegasm palette. Beautiful top shade right here. Very, very highlighty, Charlotte. Let's see. Oh, not as shiny, but pretty, very pretty. A little bit more champagne-y. This is like an everyday highlight, which is fine, which is probably better. Then here is Glowgasm highlight. This one, yeah, this one looks like it's gonna be a little bit brighter. Let's see, let's see. Is it? Almost the same, little brighter. Almost the same, but definitely brighter. Has a little bit more white in it, but yeah, I don't think you're gonna tell the difference on the cheeks. So that highlighter is almost exactly the same. Clean brush, and I'm using a Morphe brush, which I don't know, is an M438. I'm gonna go ahead and just apply that to the cheekbone. Yeah, that's a very pretty, subtle highlight. You definitely see it. So I'm happy it doesn't have that much shine, even though there's shine, because this blush already has some. So there we go. That's what the highlight looks like. Very pretty highlight. I actually love this highlight. That's beautiful. And let's grab into Lightgasm. Man, I don't know why I didn't notice this before, how glowy this palette is. And holy cannolis, you guys see, I hope you guys can see how I already have a lot of glow going on because of those blushes. And now I'm putting on an even glowier highlight on top. I'm making myself into a light bulb. This is a little bit more neutral, natural. This is a little bit more glowy. This is Lightgasm Old Palette, and this is Nudegasm. I prefer the Nudegasm highlight on top of the kind of makeup I have right now. Now I think the Lightgasm highlight is beautiful and very in your face. Just on top of the rest of the stuff in that face palette just made it like, woo, a lot going on. So this is the final face with just the palette. No eye makeup to not distract. I'll put my eye makeup on in a minute. But this is what it looks like. You know what, let me shoot you a video in daylight and let me see if I can see any difference. All right, so you guys saw my little clip of both sides in daylight. Here's my thing. Right now, I'm liking both sides. I do think on the Nudegasm side, I went a little ham with that contour, not knowing how pigmented it was. But I feel like I'm actually going to really like it with a lighter hand and not like putting so much in one spot, which I did a little too much. So I'm kind of feeling it. But I have to admit though, the difference between the two is not like extreme. But I do see a little bit more of like a structure on this side and a little bit more of like a bronzy kind of like beachy look on this side. So I'm sure I'm going to give you guys my thoughts right now. So I think you guys were able to see from the demo the biggest difference between these two palettes, which is the contouring effect that this Nudegasm palette can do. I do feel like it gives you that strong structural look, whereas her original palette just gave you kind of like a bronzy look, but it didn't give you that structure. Since it is a deeper shade and it does lean more cool tone, that is what's going to give you more of like that shadowed look. So if you're somebody who likes to contour your skin, I do think you'll benefit from this palette. I also think that there's enough warmth in the cool tone that you may not need to go in with the bronzer, because like even me that I love bronzer, I love myself some bronzer. I don't even feel like I need to go in with bronzer on the side that I have the Nudegasm. I feel like it looks pretty good. I would not go in with a bronzer. Now I would go in with the lighter hand. That I would do, but I do really like the effect that this palette did. Now the other big difference between these two is that this one is less glowy. The Glowgasm palette literally was glowy, and if you guys saw from even the blush on the Glowgasm side, being that it is a similar shade, it was very different in the glowy aspect. The side that I put that Glowgasm, I felt like I looked like a light bulb at one point, and the side that I put the regular Nudegasm, I was like, okay, so this is still glowy, but it's not as bad as the Glowgasm. So I do actually really like this palette, and I'm going to be honest, I did not love the formula of the bronzer in this palette, so I hardly ever use it. I hardly ever pick it up. To me, the blushes are just too glowy, and the bronzer is just too tightly packed into the palette, so it makes it too hard for me to use, so I end up not using it. So what I usually use for my bronzer is my amazing Charlotte Tilbury bronzer in tan. This is the best bronzer in the universe, and this is what I use to bronze my skin. So for me personally, this is a really good addition to my collection because I love being able to play with the idea of sculpting, and I really love the blush too. It's a beautiful shade. I love that highlight. It gives that natural glow to the skin. I like this palette, guys. Now what I want to do, and I'm going to do it right now because I forgot to do it, I'm going to contour my nose. Yeah, and I do think that this is going to work for me for a nose contour, which is great. So this is what I use to contour. I will list it down below because I don't know what color it is, but it looks just like this. Contouring. I want to compare it to the shade in the Charlotte palette. I think it might be almost the same. The Charlotte one actually is a little grayer, which might actually work a little bit better for contouring. But yeah, between the two, if you guys can see them on my fingers, they're pretty close. Like I said, the Charlotte one's just a tad bit grayer. Yeah, I definitely think I could use that as a nose contour. So that's actually pretty exciting because I don't really have any other palettes that have like contour shades besides this one. This is the one I use all the time. So I think that this is different. It's different enough for me, and I really like it. So I'm on board with it. I'm on board with it. All right, so let's move on to the lipstick. So for the lipstick, she actually came out with 4 different ones in this Super Nudes collection, and the only one that I picked up was the one called Catwalking, and Catwalking was actually in her Matte Revolution formula, and it's $34 US. But let's go ahead and let me show you this. I'm also going to compare it to Nude Romance because I really like that lip shade. So let's get into that right now. All right, so you saw my thoughts on the palette, and let's get into the lipsticks. Eye makeup is done. This will be up on my Instagram at Christina Brooke Beauty if you guys want to check it out. But let's try out the lip products. So we have here the new Catwalking lipstick. So this is the only one I picked up because it looked different to me, and it also said it had peach in it, and I kind of love peach. So this is what it looks like, and I will show you guys the quick little swatch that I did. But I think it looks really pretty. Kind of reminds me of Nude Romance, which is kind of my favorite lipstick right now. We will compare different lipsticks as well from Charlotte, but let's go ahead and apply it. So this is also, I think, her Matte Revolution formula. Beautiful. So this is definitely like an everyday lipstick for me. I don't have to have extremely dramatic eye makeup on, but it definitely will look really good with dramatic makeup. It has like that perfect like undertone that it has like your lip color, but then a little peach and a little pink in it. So I'm obsessed. Really love this. Kind of reminds me of Nude Romance, which is my favorite lipstick right now. So let's do some swatches. Let's compare. Let's go ahead and let's swatch it next to Nude Romance. So this right here is Catwalking. Catwalking, the new color. That's the new color. So pretty. I really like it. Okay, then let's do Nude Romance, which is her new release that I love this color. Ooh, it looks kind of similar. It might be a little deeper. It's literally the sister of Nude Romance, just Nude Romance is a little deeper, and this one's actually a tad bit lighter, which I like because I love the undertone of Nude Romance, and they have like a similar undertone. It's only Nude Romance is deeper. So that's BITCH Perfect. Actually, looking at it, this the new Catwalking actually has a little bit more brown peach, and this one actually has more of like that lighter pinky peach, if you guys can see. So this one looks a little bit more like a summery color, whereas the new color could go into the fall really well. So that is Pillow Talk. Pillow Talk is pinkier. So if you guys can see, Pillow Talk goes pretty pink. Pillow Talk goes pretty pink compared to it, right? Let's compare it to Glowing Jen. No, that's a lot pinker. No, 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 no. It reminds me a little bit of this one from KKW Beauty. I know this is not the same, but a little bit like that, right? So this is the KKW Beauty lipstick that I love in 3.5 Nude. It has a really similar color. So let's just put KKW Beauty up here. Look at how close that is. It's a little deeper, but same undertone. So yeah, so those are comparison swatches of some of the lipsticks that I have from Charlotte that have like a similar color, but I do not think I own this color 100%. If anything, it's closer to my KKW Beauty than anything else. Yeah, so I'm super happy I picked this color up. I thought it was going to be my style, and it 100% is, and I really like it, so there we go. Let's get into some final thoughts. All right, so we've come to the end of the video. I really hope you guys enjoyed this and that I was able to answer as many questions as I possibly can. I tried to pack in so many details in here. So if you guys have any more questions, of course, leave your comments down below. Your friends here on YouTube will probably respond to you with some amazing, amazing advice. And yeah, hit subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks so much for watching. Everything we talked about today will be linked in the description box, and I will talk with you guys in my next video. Bye.